The gym smelled of sweat and rubber. A familiar sting in my nose as I dropped my duffel bag by the lockers. I was 22, chasing a dream of strength. But tonight, something felt off. Coach Ryan's voice cut through the clanging weights like a blade. Evan. Back office. Now. My heart tripped over itself. Ryan wasn't just any coach. At 24, he was the kind of guy who commanded a room without trying broad shoulders. Sharp jaw. Eyes that could pin you down or lift you up, depending on his mood. We'd been circling each other for months. Glances lingering too long. Conversations stretching past closing time. I thought I knew what this was. I was wrong. The back office was a cramped space, cluttered with clipboards, protein shake cans, and a flickering fluorescent light. Ryan shut the door, the click echoing like a gavel. He didn't sit, didn't lean against the desk. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, staring at me like I'd stolen something. Evan, he said, his voice low. We need to talk about you. Me? I laughed nervously, shifting on my feet. My sneakers squeaked against the linoleum. What did I do? Bad form on the deadlifts again. He didn't smile. That was the first warning. Ryan always smiled, even when he was pissed. This isn't about your lifts. He took a step closer, and I swear the air thickened. It's about us. What's been happening? My pulse spiked. Us. The word hung there. Heavy. Loaded. I'd spent weeks dissecting every word he said, every brush of his hand when he spotted me on the bench press. I was out. Had been since high school. But Ryan. He was a mystery. Straight passing. Small-town hero type. The kind of guy who'd grown up with a football in one hand and a Bible in the other. But those late-night talks. The way his eyes softened when he looked at me, I'd let myself hope. Ryan. I started. But he cut me off. I saw you with him. His voice cracked. Just enough to betray him. Last week. Outside the diner. You and that guy. Laughing. Touching his arm. Who is he? Evan. I froze. He meant Caleb. My best friend since freshman year. The only person who knew how deep I'd fallen for Ryan. It was nothing just Caleb being Caleb, dragging me out for greasy fries and bad jokes. But Ryan's eyes were burning, and I realized he'd been watching me, carrying this like a wound. Ryan. That was just Caleb. He's a friend. You know that. My voice sounded small, unconvincing. A friend. He stepped closer. Close enough I could smell the cedar in his cologne. You don't look at friends like that. You don't, he stopped. Jaw tight. Like he was swallowing something sharp. I thought we had something. My chest caved. We. He'd said it again. I wanted to grab him. Shake him. Tell him he was wrong. That it was him I couldn't stop thinking about. But the way he looked at me hurt. Raw. Unguarded, it was like seeing him for the first time. Not the coach. Not the guy who could deadlift twice his weight. But Ryan. The man who was terrified of what he felt. Ryan. I said, stepping toward him, my hand reaching out before I could stop it. He flinched, and it was like a slap. I don't know what you think you saw, but it's you. It's always been you. He didn't move. Didn't speak. The silence stretched, suffocating. Then, slowly, he reached out, his fingers brushing mine. It was barely a touch, but it set my skin on fire. "Evan," he whispered, "I can't do this. Not here. Not like this." "Then where?" I asked, my voice breaking. "When?" He looked at me, and for a moment, I thought he'd kiss me. I wanted him to. I wanted to crash into him. To hell with the consequences. But then he pulled back, his hand falling away. "I don't know," he said, and the defeat in his voice gutted me. "I just don't know." The door was still closed, but the distance between us felt like miles. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the beginning of everything, every secret, every fight, every heartbreak. Ryan wasn't just my coach. He was my unraveling. I left the office that night with my head spinning, Ryan's words looping like a bad song. "I don't know." How could 3 words feel like a punch to the gut? I walked home through the quiet streets of our small Ohio town, the neon glow of the gym's sign fading behind me. The air was crisp, October biting at my knuckles, but I barely felt it. All I could think about was Ryan's hand brushing mine, the way his voice broke when he said my name. By the time I got to my apartment, Caleb was already there, sprawled on my couch with a half-eaten pizza. "You look like you got hit by a truck," he said, tossing me a slice. Caleb was 23, all sharp wit and sharper cheekbones. The kind of guy who could charm anyone but never took himself too seriously. He'd been my rock since we were kids, the one who held my hand when I came out to my parents and got a slammed door in response. "Ryan," I said, collapsing next to him. "He thinks we're something." Caleb's eyebrows shot up. "Wait. Coach Hotshot's jealous." "Of me?" He laughed, but it died when he saw my face. "Oh. Shit. You're serious. What happened?" I told him everything in the office. The accusation. The way Ryan looked like he was drowning in his own feelings. Caleb listened, his usual smirk gone. "Evan, you gotta be careful," he said finally. "Ryan's not out. He's not even close. You're playing with fire." "I know," I said, but the truth was, I didn't care. I wanted to burn. The next week at the gym was torture. Ryan was there, same as always, barking orders, spotting lifts, but he wouldn't look at me. Not once. I pushed harder than ever, more weight, more reps, anything to drown out the ache in my chest. By Friday, I couldn't take it anymore. After the last client left, I cornered him by the treadmills. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. He glanced around, like he was checking for witnesses. "Not here." "Then where?" "Ryan. You keep saying that, but you're shutting me out." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You can't just say what you said and then act like I don't exist." His jaw tightened, but he nodded toward the back office. Same room, same flickering light. But this time, he didn't shut the door all the way. "Evan, I'm trying to protect you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "This town, you know how it is. If people find out what?" I snapped. "That you feel something." "That I do," He flinched, but he didn't back away. It's not that simple. My family, my job, this gym is all I've got. If I lose it, he trailed off. But I heard the rest. If he lost it, he'd lose himself. I wanted to scream that he was already losing some things. Whatever we could be. But then he looked at me. Really looked. And I saw the fear in his eyes. Not just fear of being found out, but fear of what he wanted. Of me. I'm not asking you to shout it from the rooftops, I said softly. But don't push me away. Not when I know you feel it too. He didn't answer, but he didn't have to. His hand found mine again, stronger this time, his thumb tracing the edge of my palm. It was a small thing, but it felt like a promise. For the first time, I let myself believe we could figure this out. But small towns talk, and secrets don't stay buried. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Caleb. Check the gym's Yelp page. Now, my stomach dropped. Someone had posted a review. Anonymous. Of course, Coach Ryan's too busy flirting with clients to do his job. Disgusting. No names. But I knew who they meant. I knew what they'd seen. The Yelp review hit like a grenade. I stared at my phone. The words burning into me. Flirting with clients. Disgusting. It wasn't just an attack on Ryan, it was on us. On whatever we were trying to be. I called him, but he didn't pick up. By the time I got to the gym, the place was buzzing. Clients whispering. Stealing glances at Ryan as he stood by the front desk. His face a mask of calm I knew he didn't feel. Ryan, I said, catching him by the water fountain. You saw it. He nodded, his eyes dark. Yeah. And so did my boss. His voice was flat, but I could hear the strain. The gym owner, Mr. Hargrove, was old school. The kind of guy who'd call you son while patting you on the back. But cross him, and you were done. He wants to see me this afternoon. My stomach twisted. What are you going to tell him? The truth, he said, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. That it's nothing. That I'm not like that. The words stung, sharper than I expected. Not like that, I repeated, my voice low. So what am I? Ryan. A mistake. He grabbed my arm, pulling me into the hallway where no one could hear. Don't do this. Evan. You know that's not what I mean. But I can't lose this job. I can't, he stopped, his grip tightening. I need you to trust me. I wanted to. God. I wanted to. But trust felt like a tightrope. And I was already slipping. Then tell me what we're doing, I said. Because I'm not gonna be your dirty secret. He let go, his hand falling like it weighed a ton. I don't know what we're doing, he admitted. But I'm trying. Okay. I'm trying. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the review, wondering who'd written it. Someone who'd seen us talking too long, standing too close. Or worse, someone who'd been in the gym that night, who'd caught a glimpse of Ryan's hand on mine. I felt exposed, like the whole town was watching, waiting for us to slip up. The next day, Ryan was different. He was still coaching, still calling out reps. But there was a wall between us now. No more late-night talks. No more lingering looks. I tried to focus on my lifts, but every clang of the weights felt like a countdown to something breaking. Caleb came over that weekend, his face grim. I did some digging, he said, tossing his phone on the table. That review. It's not random. I heard some guys at the diner talking. They know about you too. Know what? I snapped, but my heart was racing. There's nothing to know. Evan, come on, he said, his voice gentle but firm. You're not subtle. Neither is he. And this town, it's not exactly San Francisco. People talk, and they're not kind. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong. But deep down, I knew he wasn't. I'd seen the looks at the grocery store, the way conversations stopped when I walked by. And he was carrying the weight of it too. I could see it in the way his shoulders slumped when he thought no one was watching. That Monday, I walked into the gym and found Ryan in the back office, packing a box. My heart stopped. What's going on? I asked, my voice barely steady. Hargrove, he said, not looking up. He's cutting my hours. Says it's budget, but we both know why. He slammed a clipboard into the box. The sound sharp. I'm done. Evan, I can't do this anymore. Do what? I stepped closer, my hand shaking. The job. Or us. He didn't answer, and that was worse than anything he could have said. Ryan's silence was a blade, cutting deeper with every second. I stood there in the back office, watching him pack. Each item he tossed into the box feeling like a piece of us breaking off. I wanted to grab him, make him look at me, but my feet were glued to the floor. Ryan, I said finally, my voice raw. Talk to me. Don't just shut down. He stopped, his hands gripping the edge of the desk. What do you want me to say? Evan. That I'm fine. That this, he gestured vaguely between us, is worth losing everything for. His voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw tears in his eyes. I'm not like you. I wasn't ready for this. The words hit like a slap. Not like you. I'd spent years fighting to be okay with who I was, clawing my way out of shame and rejection. And now, the one person I thought saw me was running from it. So that's it. I asked. You're just gonna walk away? I don't have a choice, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Hargrove's got his eye on me. The whole town's talking. If I stay, it's only gonna get worse for both of us. I wanted to scream that I didn't care, that we could face it together. But the truth was, I wasn't sure I could either. The whispers, the review, the way people looked at me know it was suffocating. And Ryan, he wasn't built for this kind of fight. Not yet. I left the gym that night without saying goodbye. The drive home was a blur, streetlights smearing through the tears I refused to let fall. When I got to my apartment, Caleb was waiting, his face pale. I heard, he said. Hargrove's basically firing him. It's not just Hargrove, I said, sinking onto the couch. It's me. I pushed him too far. Caleb sat beside me, his hand on my shoulder. You didn't push him, Evan. He's just scared. And this town doesn't make it easy. He was right, but it didn't make it hurt less. For the next few days, I avoided the gym. I couldn't face the empty space where Ryan used to be, the way the other coaches avoided my eyes. But I couldn't avoid him forever. On Thursday, I found a note slipped under my door. Meet me at the old quarry. 8 p.m. R. The quarry was a half-hour drive. A place kids used to sneak off to for bonfires and bad decisions. I hadn't been there since high school, but I went. When I pulled up, Ryan was already there, leaning against his truck, the moonlight catching the lines of his face. He looked tired, older than 24. "I'm sorry," he said as I got out of my car. "For everything." I wanted to be angry, to yell, but all I could do was nod. "Why here?" I asked. "Because no one's watching," he said, his voice soft. "I needed to see you. Just you." We talked for hours, sitting on the tailgate of his truck. The night cold, but his presence warm. He told me about his dad, a pastor who'd never understand. About the pressure to be the perfect son, the perfect coach. About how meeting me had changed everything and scared him to death. "I don't want to lose you," he said finally, his hand finding mine. "But I don't know how to do this." "Then we'll figure it out," I said, squeezing his hand. Together. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. But hope is fragile, and the world doesn't always let it grow. The quarry became our refuge. For the next few weeks, Ryan and I met there whenever we could, stealing moments away from the town's prying eyes. We'd sit on the rocky ledge, sharing stories, laughing, sometimes just sitting in silence, his head resting against my shoulder. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. I started to believe we could make it work, that love could outrun fear. But secrets have a way of catching up. One night, as we sat by the quarry, Ryan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his face went pale. "It's Hargrove," he said, his voice tight. "He knows I've been sneaking off." "Sneaking off?" I asked, my heart sinking. "You didn't tell him about us, did you?" "No," he said quickly, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. He's suspicious. Asked where I've been going after hours. I wanted to believe him, but doubt crept in like a cold wind. The next day, I went to the gym, hoping to catch him before his shift. Instead, I found Hargrove waiting for me, his arms crossed, his face hard. "Evan," he said, "we need to talk." My stomach dropped. The back office felt smaller this time, the air thick with tension. Hargrove didn't sit, just leaned against the desk, staring me down. "I know what's going on with you and Ryan," he said, "and it stops now." I opened my mouth to deny it, but he held up a hand. "Don't. I've seen the way you two look at each other. And I'm not the only one. This is a family gym, Evan. People don't want that kind of thing here." "That kind of thing," I repeated, my voice shaking with anger. "You mean me being who I am?" He didn't flinch. "I mean keeping things professional. Ryan's on thin ice. You want to help him? Stay away." I left the office shaking, not from fear, but from rage. I wanted to find Ryan, to tell him we didn't need this place, that we could leave, start over somewhere else. But when I found him in the parking lot, he looked like a ghost. "Evan," he said, his voice barely audible. "Hargrove told me if I don't cut ties with you, I'm out. For good." "Then let him fire you," I said, stepping closer. "We don't need this town. We can go somewhere else. Somewhere we can be us." He shook his head, his eyes wet. "You don't get it, Evan. This gym, this job, it's all I've ever known. My dad, my family here. If I leave, I lose them too." "So you're choosing them over me?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I'm not choosing," he said, his hands clenched into fists. "I'm trying to survive." I walked away, my heart in pieces. For days, I didn't go to the gym. I didn't call Ryan. I didn't know how to. Caleb tried to pull me out of it, dragging me to coffee shops, forcing me to eat. But nothing filled the hole Ryan had left. Then, one night, I got a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at the quarry. Please." I shouldn't have gone. I knew it. But love makes you stupid. And I was the dumbest guy alive. The quarry was dark when I pulled up, the only light coming from Ryan's truck. He was sitting on the tailgate, his head in his hands. When he saw me, he stood, his face a mix of relief and guilt. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. "I almost didn't," I admitted, stopping a few feet away. "What do you want, Ryan?" He took a deep breath, like he was bracing himself. "I messed up, Evan. I let Hargrove get in my head. I let this town get in my head. But I can't do this without you." My heart lurched, but I didn't move. "You've been doing a pretty good job of it so far," I said, my voice sharp. "You pushed me away. You let them win." "I know," he said, stepping closer. "And I hate myself for it. But I'm here now. I'm choosing you." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to fall into his arms and forget the pain of the last few weeks. But trust is hard to rebuild, and I wasn't sure I had it in me. "What's changed?" I asked. "Hargrove's still your boss. The town's still the same. What's different now?" "Me," he said, his voice steady for the first time. "I'm different. I told Hargrove I'm done hiding. I told him I'm gay." The world tilted. I stared at him, searching for a lie. But all I saw was Ryan raw, honest, terrified, but standing tall. "You, what?" I stammered. I told him. He repeated. "And yeah, he fired me. But I don't care anymore. I can't keep living like this, pretending I don't love you." Love. The word hit me like a tidal wave. I'd felt it, known it, but hearing him say it out loud was something else. I closed the distance between us, my hands finding his face, and kissed him. It wasn't gentle or sweet, it was desperate, hungry. Months of longing poured into one moment. He kissed me back, his hands gripping my jacket like he was afraid I'd disappear. But the world doesn't stop for love. The next morning, the gym's Yelp page exploded. More reviews, Uglier this time. Pervert coach. Not safe for families. Someone had seen us at the quarry. Or maybe Hargrove had talked. It didn't matter. The town was closing in, and Ryan was caught in the crossfire. By noon, he was gone. Not just from the gym from town. His truck wasn't at his apartment. His phone went straight to voicemail. I drove to his place, banging on the door until my knuckles bled. But it was empty. Caleb found me there, sitting on the curb, my head in my hands. He left, didn't he? I said, not looking up. Caleb sat beside me, his voice soft. Yeah. I heard he's staying with a cousin in Columbus. He didn't tell anyone. Not even you. I wanted to hate him, but all I felt was grief. Ryan had chosen me, but he hadn't chosen us. Not enough to stay. Weeks passed, but the pain didn't. I stopped going to the gym. Couldn't stand the whispers, the pitying looks. Caleb tried to keep me grounded, but I was drowning. Ryan's absence was a hole I couldn't fill, a question I couldn't answer. Why hadn't he fought harder? Why hadn't I? I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts at the coffee shop, trying to forget. But every quiet moment brought him back his laugh, his touch, the way he'd said he loved me. I kept his note from the quarry, folded in my wallet like a wound I couldn't stop picking at. One night, Caleb dragged me to a bar in the next town over, a place where no one knew us. You need to live, Evan, he said, shoving a beer into my hand. He's gone. You're not. I tried to smile, but it felt wrong. The bar was loud, crowded, but I felt alone. Then I saw him, not Ryan, but a guy who looked enough like him to stop my heart. Same broad shoulders, same quiet intensity. He caught my eye, and for a moment, I let myself pretend. But when he smiled, it wasn't Ryan's smile, and the ache came rushing back. I left early, driving to the quarry without thinking. It was stupid, but I needed to feel him, to remember. The place was empty, the rocks cold under my hands. I sat there until dawn, replaying every moment, every mistake. I'd pushed too hard, or maybe not hard enough. I'd loved him, but love wasn't enough. The next day, I got a letter. No return address. Just my name and Ryan's messy scrawl. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single page, his words spilling out like a confession. Evan, I'm sorry. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I couldn't face what I'd done to you. This town, these people, they broke me. But I broke you worse. I'm in Columbus, trying to start over. But I can't do it without you. If you can forgive me, I'll be at the quarry next Saturday. 8 p.m. I'll wait. I read it 100 times. Each word a knife and a lifeline. Caleb found me staring at it. My coffee cold. You're not seriously thinking about going, he said, but his voice was soft, like he already knew. I have to, I said. I need to know. Saturday came too fast and not fast enough. I drove to the quarry, my heart in my throat. Part of me hoped he'd be there. Part of me dreaded it. What if he hadn't changed? What if I hadn't? When I pulled up, his truck was there, and so was he. He looked different, thinner. Tired. But still Ryan. He stood when he saw me, his hands shoved in his pockets, his eyes searching mine. "Evan," he said, and my name in his voice was enough to break me all over again. I didn't run to him, didn't throw myself into his arms like some movie. I stood there, the quarry's silence pressing in, my heart pounding so loud I thought he'd hear it. "Why'd you come back?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Ryan stepped closer, his eyes never leaving mine. "Because I was wrong," he said. "I thought running would fix it, but it didn't. I missed you every day, Evan. I still do." I wanted to believe him, but the hurt was still raw, a bruise that hadn't faded. "You left me," I said, my voice cracking. "You didn't even say goodbye." "I know," he said, his voice thick with guilt. "I was a coward. I thought I was protecting you, but I was just scared. Scared of what I felt, scared of what it meant. But I'm not running anymore." He reached for my hand, and this time, I let him take it. His touch was familiar, warm, but it carried the weight of everything we'd been through. "What now?" I asked. "This town hasn't changed. They'll never accept us." "Then we leave," he said, his voice firm. "Together." I got a job offer in Chicago, a gym that doesn't care who I am. "We can start over, Evan. Just you and me." Chicago. The word felt like a door opening, a chance at something new. But it also meant leaving everything: my job, my friends, Caleb. I looked at Ryan, searching his face for the truth. "Are you sure?" I asked. "Because I can't do this again. I can't lose you twice." "You won't," he said, pulling me closer. "I promise." We stood there, wrapped in each other, the quarry's rocks bearing witness to a moment that felt like a beginning. It wasn't perfect, love never is. But it was real, and it was ours. The next week, we packed up my apartment, said goodbye to Caleb, who hugged me so tight I thought he'd break my ribs. "Be happy," he whispered, and I promised I'd try. Chicago was loud, chaotic, nothing like our small town. The gym where Ryan worked was huge, filled with people who didn't bat an eye at us holding hands. We found a tiny apartment, barely big enough for our dreams. But it was enough. We fought sometimes over money, over fears, over the ghosts of who we used to be. But we always came back to each other. Love doesn't fix everything. It doesn't erase the pain or the scars. But it gives you a reason to keep going, to fight for something better. Ryan and I weren't just surviving anymore. We were living. And that was worth everything.